Hello and welcome back to the basement renovation. If you are new here, my name is Casey. I always forget to introduce myself. I'm Casey, and my husband and I have been renovating our fixer-upper for over a year, and now we have made our way down to the basement. In the last couple of episodes of this series, we were demolishing the basement. We have completely pulled out all of the drywall, all of the old 70s paneling, all of the roof, all of the ceiling, all of the insulation. It was a dirty job, and we found a lot of really gross things in the walls and in the ceiling. This is why I wanted to get behind these walls. Oh, holy crap. A mouse fell out of here that was, it was this big. I think we got a squirrel. Another dead mouse. Shoot. Oh. What was it? Ooh.
It's like a rat or a mouse. It was like I pulled it down, it was right in my face.
Ooh. But now we're ready to start rebuilding in this space. So one of the first things that we need to do is level the floor. We're not trying to get it perfectly level, all the same level, but we just want to make it slightly more level than it is currently. It's a little bit rough. Now we think we're going to be using luxury vinyl plank down here. And with that, it has a little bit of flexibility, so you can have a little bit of unevenness, but we're gonna try to get it, just a little bit better than it is right now. I also went around and made sure that all of the nails from the tack strips from the carpet that used to be in here were out of the floor or either pounded down. Some of them I couldn't get out, I just kind of pounded them down flat. So I just wanted to make sure there weren't any sharp things sticking out of the floor. We're gonna be using a self-leveling concrete, and because we're using a self-leveling concrete, I had to come in and do a primer on the floor. So I did that this morning. A few hours ago, I came in and did a coat of the self-leveling concrete primer, and that is just supposed to help it adhere a little bit better to the floor. So the primer has had some time to dry, and we are ready to start pouring the concrete. We have had a little bit of experience using self-leveling concrete in our bathroom, the basement bathroom that we did down here. That floor was really uneven, and we did a new concrete floor in the whole bathroom and just used self-leveling concrete, and we had really good results with it. And it actually was not as scary as we anticipated it to be. This is a much bigger area though, so we're gonna have to be a little more strategic about how we do this area, even though we're not necessarily trying to cover every inch, we're just trying to level out some of the low spots. So let's just see how it goes. So we are going to be using this little room here. This was the scary room. It's not scary anymore, but we're going to be using this as our kind of concrete staging area, and we've got several bags of the self-leveling concrete. I'm going to be pouring concrete in here. Alan's going to be mixing, and we're just going to kind of trying to keep that going. That's what we did when we did the bathroom. And we also just want to start in the back of the basement and kind of work our way toward the stairwell, because that's our exit. When we did the self-leveling concrete in the bathroom, it actually went pretty quickly, and I was kind of anxious when we did that because I was feeling like I had to move really fast, but the concrete was actually pretty workable. So I'm hoping we'll have a similar experience this time. So we just want to get all of our stuff prepped and ready to go. I've got some buckets of water. We've got our concrete. I estimated that we need about 14 bags of concrete. So we're just getting our buckets of water prepped so that we don't have to run back and forth and get water. So we also marked on the bucket the 1 gallon mark, because we need 1 gallon per bag of concrete. So we can just use this bucket for mixing and pour the water in here, then pour the concrete in, and that should help us move a little quicker.
All right.
You ready?
Dexter it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right.
Here we go. You probably want to do just a little bit at a time.
God, I forgot how much fun this is. Jeez, this is a mess. Got a real witch's brew going on here.
All right, first bucket. I'm gonna be kind of leveling it out with this trowel. So, all right, here we go. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Get back in there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we just finished. I am very, very sweaty and gross. Those masks are a pain in the butt, but we got it done. Right now it looks a little bit crazy. It's not gonna be perfectly smooth everywhere, but it's gonna be more smooth than it was. And it's also kind of deceiving because it has some variation in color in the concrete as you pour each batch. So anyway, it definitely leveled out a lot of spots. This little spot right here was actually pretty low, so that was nice to fill that. There's a crack here in the center. I tried to kind of fill the cracks with the stuff too, but we'll probably have to go back in and kind of fill that with a little bit of stuff. We might even have to, honestly, but yes, we finished. And I feel like it only took us about an hour to do this whole room. And this room is about 400 square feet. And I think we used, looks like we used all but one. Do we have any more over here? So we ended up using about 10 bags because I estimated I needed 14, but I also spread this really, really thin. So now we just wait for it to dry. I also did not need these knee pads. I put them on just in case, but I ended up just crawling around like a little gremlin, so. All right, it's been a few days and the concrete has fully dried and it is good to go. Now, this is not a total level job, okay? This is, like I said, I feel like I have to reiterate this. It's not meant to completely level the floor because that would have taken a lot more concrete. We mainly just had some rough areas that we wanted to kind of smooth over. And I think we did that. It's also really hard to tell for sure how smooth the floor is because of the variation in color between the different pours, the different buckets of concrete. I think this is good enough for a basement floor that we're going to be putting more flooring on top of. And the LVP, the luxury vinyl plank that we're going to be putting in here, we're also going to have an underlayment under that to create a little bit more of a barrier between the planks and the concrete because concrete has a lot of moisture. So you kind of have to deal with that when you're working with a slab on grade or a basement floor. Now I also came in here and did a little bit more demo. I finally got the rest of the drywall and paneling off of this little corner over here. I got the rest of the insulation out of this whole little area back here was just kind of tucked in. It was really kind of hard to get to. And it took me forever to get the drywall off around this door. It was just like little tiny pieces and they were nailed in a lot anyway. And we've also been kind of trying to get a better picture of the electrical layout in here because they did some really weird stuff, and I imagine it probably was just because they kind of got to what they could get to without having to tear down the ceiling or the walls. And since we are now tearing down the ceiling and the walls, we can kind of get a better picture of what's going on in here. And it's very much, what is the word I'm looking for? It's very scabbed together. Like they just did a lot of weird little things here and there. So we will be redoing the lighting in here, but for the time being, Alan came in here a couple of days ago and put some temporary lights in here just so we have light down here. I should have done this before I poured the concrete actually, but I just didn't get to it. And then today we had supplies delivered for the next phase of this basement renovation. God, there's a spider. Yuck. We now have foam board insulation and studs to start building some new walls in the basement. So the foam board is going to go on the concrete walls, and then we'll build some stud walls in front of that, and then we will insulate those further, and then we'll put drywall on those. So this is kind of the first phase. We just ordered the first part of the walls so that we can kind of get going on that, and we'll place an order for the rest of it kind of as we come to it. Also, it is stink bug and box elder season, and they are all over the house. A few have kind of gotten into this main walkout area, like we have a couple here on the windows. I've been working so hard to really button up this house from pests and rodents. And one of the things that has been kind of driving me crazy is how many bugs have been getting in to this area, well, really the whole basement. So I have spent a lot of time trying to seal up these windows, and you will have seen in my previous videos where I was putting spray foam in some of these areas where I could see that the bugs were getting in. When I was doing more of the demo in here, I just noticed that there were more box elders getting in, and it was driving me crazy. Every time I see one of those bugs, I'm like, where'd you come from? Where's the hole? I gotta fill it. Like, that has been my obsession with this house. And I kind of went a little nuts putting spray foam and caulk around literally every crack and crevice around this wall and all the studs. And the box elders have really been congregating around the windows, especially this window here. And they're kind of trapped in the screen. This window kind of gets stuck and I need to actually clean it really well and clean out the screen and all of that. And I could tell that they were still getting in. Well, there used to be some little quarter round trim around the window here on the inside of the framing. I took that off and I found more holes where the bugs were getting in. So I went ahead and spray foamed that too. And I think that that did the trick. I haven't seen any more getting in since I did that. And I've been doing a little bit of research on box elders and stink bugs. First of all, this time of year, like the transition between summer and fall, and then the transition between like spring and summer when things are kind of around 70 to 80 degrees, we get an explosion of box elders, stink bugs, and ladybugs. Like last spring, like late spring, ladybugs were insane in here, and it got really bad, especially down here in the basement. But I really don't know what you do for them outside. Like they're just everywhere, and so some of them are just going to get in the house. That's normal. But we were getting a lot getting into the house. One thing that I read was that like with these bugs, they leave their pheromones on everything, and so it just attracts more bugs. So anyway, I'm going to clean this window really good and get all the gunk and bug stuff off of it. And now that I've got this kind of sealed up a little bit better, I'm hoping that fewer will be trying to get in, because this was definitely a problem window. But I think I finally, I don't want to jinx it, I think I finally got it all sealed up. But yeah, I did all of that yesterday off camera just so I could kind of get in here and get it done. So what we're going to be doing next is putting foam insulation on the concrete walls and then building a stud wall in front of that. Originally, they had furring strips on here that paneling was attached to, and it was not insulated. And just doing a little bit of research, I think it's going to be a good idea for us to insulate these walls. I think it'll just make the home a little bit more efficient. It'll make it a little bit more comfortable down here. Although it does stay pretty comfortable down here anyway. And there are a lot of different ways that you can insulate a basement. I've been doing a little bit of research, and I think the method that we're going to use is going to be the best for us. We'll get foam board along these two concrete walls here and along the little pony wall here, the little concrete wall here where the window is. I'll put some foam board there too. When I first started envisioning what I wanted for this space, I thought I would put my sewing space over here, because I really want to do a wall of storage cabinets along this back wall and create storage for almost everything that we store down in the basement. But I just thought it would be kind of a nice backdrop for my sewing space, and I could kind of have a little more control over the lighting over here. But I got a few comments and people were like, why don't you put your sewing space where the natural light is? And I don't know why it hadn't really occurred to me. Probably because the way we had been using the space was as a storage space, and like literally all of the junk that we had was over on this side of the basement. So it was harder for me to envision that. But as I've been working in this space and demolishing everything, this is definitely the nicer area over here on this side. So I think I do want to have my sewing space over here. I think it's just going to make more sense. It's going to be a nicer space to work in because I'll have the natural light. And then I think for the space over here where I'm going to have all the storage, I'm probably just going to have a seating area, possibly a television, and have kind of more of a lounge space over there. I had someone ask on a previous video if this window was like, where was it going? And it goes into our crawl space. So over here is an addition that was built onto the house at some point, I'm not sure, but our dining room is over there. And so this window was in the original house, and then they built the addition just over that, and they just never closed in the window. We will be closing in this window once we start building all the walls and everything. So this window will be gone when we are done. And then I also thought it might be kind of nice to put like some sort of divider here, or like temporary wall, movable wall system. At IKEA, they have those shades that stay kind of flat, you know, they're just like these panels basically. They can kind of slide back and forth. I thought something like that might be kind of cool here, just to kind of create some separation between the two spaces if I ever feel like I need it. And to also kind of break the space up a little bit. So I'm still kind of toying around with ideas for how I want to lay out this whole space. And you guys always have really good ideas, so feel free to put your suggestions in the comments, because you definitely opened my eyes to putting my sewing space over here. And I'm really excited about that. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you've been enjoying this series. And if you have been enjoying the series, please be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon. That way you'll be notified when I release new videos in the future. Next week, we're going to start working on the insulation, the new walls, drywall. I'm getting very excited because I know this place is going to look so much better once we get the drywall installed, and I can't wait. I'm so pumped for this project, especially now that the worst of the demolition is hopefully over. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.